Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Board of Directors of the Summit Waller Community Association to order for Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. And first item on the agenda is approval of board meeting minutes from our October 5 meeting. Does anybody have any additions, corrections? Oh, before I do that, do we have somebody taking notes? Or should I guess I could take notes on my agenda here.
Multitask, huh?
I guess. Have to do all sorts of things here. I'm just glad my other meeting got out at a decent time. Okay, so any corrections, additions to the meeting minutes for our prior October meeting?
I move we accept.
Okay, Don moved that we accept.
Gabe seconds.
Okay. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And we've all received the October Treasurers Report from Russell. Do we want to go ahead and have a motion to approve that? Or are there any questions about it?
I said motion. Report.
Okay, it's been moved that we approved Russell's October Treasurers Report. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
So we need an official word from the president as to whether the minutes officially passed and the treasurer's report officially passed.
Yes, Treasurer's Report and the meeting minutes for October both have passed on unanimous votes. Okay, since the treasurer is not here, we'll move on. Anything to report, Gabe, regarding our website?
No, the website's same as it's been. Nothing new to report for the website.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Our last important news of the month on the website was back in August. Are we going to not have any important news of the month anymore? Or
Okay. Yeah, I can comment on that. So
Sure.
what we've decided in prior meetings, I don't think it requires a vote, but we were talking about making the website more of a repository for historical information or resources, but not an ongoing place for people to go look up new stuff, because there's almost nobody going to the website for any of those reasons.
Yeah, with the traffic that's on Facebook and the currency of items going there works better than people going to the website. Although when people have questions, we can then link to the website and drive them there to answer questions that are, we've already archived the answers for.
Right.
So what's the future? What's the future of important news of the month?
It's probably going to get removed just because it's kind of not the place people are going. We're not even seeing people go to the important news of the month, even though we're posting it there. There's almost no traffic to it. Yeah.
It'll be posted on Facebook.
Yeah, our community group.
Mm-hmm.
I might suggest, if you're going to remove the news of the month, that you put it in a place, a kind of a suggestion that people go to Facebook for current information, and that the website is a repository for historical archive information.
Yeah, I can adjust the verbiage to state that. It already shows the Facebook group for more current information. Please go to that, but it doesn't specifically say for up-to-date information, go here, but not saying it's not going to be posted. We should just take out the important of the month part. Yeah.
And something related to yours, and we discussed this, and I'm not sure where we are with it. Doing membership renewals through online with credit card how's,
Russell and I need to get together. We haven't done so yet. We need to get together and meet to determine
Mhm.
how to integrate like a PayPal option so people can renew annually type of thing.
okay. All right, thank you. So on to current business. Orange Gate Park, Larry reported 19 hours for this month. Larry, is that primarily garbage pickup? Anything else you've been up to over there? Harassing squatters?
Yeah, primarily litter pickup. Usually when I go out to do the big loop around, it usually takes me 2 to 2.5 hours to pick up everything. Stage it at the corner of 46th Avenue and 84th. And I encourage other people to do that as well, because I remind people that are walking the trails, if they would carry a bag with them and either take the garbage home or set it there by that double arrow sign at 46 and 84th would be nice. Other things to report, I do check out some sites where illegal or illicit activities occur, and I think the Parks Department has indicated that they will check the 3 areas that I had pointed out at least once a week, which I have seen very little activity, but there has been some. Recently, we've had kind of an uptick in motorcycles going into the park. And probably within the last 30 days, we have counted at least 7 motorcycles. A group of 3 earlier in October. They knew that we were watching them and would have liked to have been able to follow them so that we could report them to the sheriff's department. But they were just moving too fast.
Mhm.
I don't think they've been back. There was a single motorcycle rider that we followed north of 72nd Street before we lost that person as well. And I don't think that person's been back either. There was a group of 3 motorcycles within the last week that were in the park that one of the motorcycles quit on them. So the 3 were together, and my neighbor caught up with them and informed them as diplomatically as he could that they were there illegally. They came in an entryway where there was plenty of signage that said no motorized vehicles, and they left the park, and they have not been back that we know of either. So we're trying to be pretty vigilant. You know, if you're outside in your yard, you can tell when there's a motorcycle over in Orange Gate Park, and we try to respond to that as quickly as we can.
Okay, well, thank you. And now we have some guests on our meeting from Pierce County Parks, Andrea Clay. And I do apologize. I meant last week when the presentation was being made at the budget meetings, I meant to flip that on and then got distracted, and about 11:30, 12 o'clock, it's like, oh, yeah. So I have included in our agenda a link to the impact fees for parks proposed ordinance as well. So Andrea, if you'd like to speak to us about Orange Gate.
Well, thank you very much for allowing myself and my awesome coworkers, Jess Stone and Tiffany O'Dell, to join you all tonight. I've had a great conversation with Larry a few weeks ago, some great email communication with you, Bob, in regards to, some situations we've faced recently at Orange Gate Park. And so we wanted to come tonight to talk to you all about some of those situations. We don't want to dwell too much on it because we're really excited with the work that you all, do on site and your commitment to the park. And, moving forward with the master plan being approved, and, we're going to see a lot of more activity taking place in the park, which we're all really excited for. So like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on the negativity, but I did just want to bring some of it to your guys' attention. Oh, my dog says hi. Magic, go sit down, bud. So the main thing that I talked a little bit with Larry and Bob about were some of the unauthorized work that's been taking place in the park. And I don't think it's by a ton of folks. I have had a conversation with one person in particular, some email communication and some written communication with Mr. Bird in regards to some of the work that has been taking place on site with some of the, I guess we would say, you know, our natural lands crew is in there, you know, blazing trails and closing trails, decommissioning trails. And some of that work that we are doing, decommissioning those trails, is being undone. So we've got trails that we're closing off. And then those brush piles and things that we're doing to close those trails off are being removed because some of the park users are not, you know, happy with the work that's being done. The trail system that our crew has planned and is working on in there. And so that's why I brought to the attention, you know, that we can't be doing that. Our crews are in there working as part of our plan, and we really need to stick with that. And that there's opportunities to, you know, reach out and talk with our department in regards to the plans that are in place. And also, you know, not harassing our staff and volunteers that are on site that are doing the said work. You know, they're there, they're working hard, and we want to make sure that they're safe. And so we just wanted to bring this to you all and talk through just a little bit, you know, that we are aware of it, you know, and it's our goal to make sure that we're all positive and we're moving the park and the planning forward. And so that's with that. And part of what Jess is going to talk with you all a little bit about is some agreements that our department is working hard on with a lot of our volunteer groups that are in our different parks throughout the department. It's called a volunteer stewardship agreement. And it's something that we as a department are really wanting to get all of our groups on board with that. And so that we make sure that work that's being done in the park system is in line with work that our natural lands crew is doing, that's in work with the trails that we're doing, and that we're all just on the same page, and that we make sure that, you know, if there's any questions about what kind of work can be done, that is really spelled out in that agreement. So Jess is going to talk a little bit with you all about that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And then we'll talk a little bit about, you know, the exciting piece with the master plan being approved and some of the work that you're going to all see on the trail system over the next few years. So that's my spiel. Yeah, Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to mention that after talking with Bob and yourself, I was totally shocked that any of that unauthorized work was even going on, and that workers were being harassed. I would never even have any time to even do that. And so none of those people are associated with the Summit Waller Community Association. And I think if you look towards High Point Equestrian Center and their direct access into the park with horses, I think that's the direction that conversations focusing in on stop doing that sort of stuff needs to be directed. So I really felt that I needed to point that out.
Absolutely, and I
would
really
like to focus
appreciate
on the
that.
positives too.
I absolutely appreciate that, and they are definitely on our radar to have conversations with and put specific park use agreements together for them for you know, the association and for their users. So that's definitely on the radar, and I really appreciate you bringing that up, Larry.
Don?
Yeah, I've got a question for you, Andrea. Is the parks, is your group the one that directly speaks to what trails where at are going to be reconstructed? Do you give the parameters of how wide the trail is going to be cleared and how wide? How active are you in defining absolutely what is going to be done on the trail?
Good question, Dawn, and I can have my friend Jess speak to that because that is definitely her niche. She can talk a little bit about that to you.
Okay.
Okay, so Jess, you want to take over?
Certainly. Thank you very much. My name is Jess Stone. I am the natural land steward and arborist for Pierce County Parks. And what we would like to do is go into a partnership with the Summit Waller Community Group on stewardship of Orange Gate Park. And basically what this is an agreement and working out a stewardship plan on keeping watch, doing stewardship activities, caring for the trails and the habitats within Orange Gate. And then also allows you to put a lot of input on how Orange Gate is stewarded. Trees to be planted, invasives that need to be removed. How would you like to see this park developed? And together we develop a stewardship plan, and that's an agreement between us and between you on here is how this park is going to be stewarded. What type of work would you like to do? Help improve the trails, do invasive removal, do native plantings, keep the trail clean, do garbage pickup, help us in developing, improving trails, how trails are named, just really looking at this park and how we're going to steward it and move forward to it. It's agreement, it's new, and it's basically a way of saying that with Pierce County Parks, we want to partner with you on being stewards of Orange Gate. And it's just a matter of working with us, develop the plan, letting us know when you're working in there so we can kind of record your hours, and us keeping track of the progress and the work that is happening within Orange Gate.
Okay, I got a question specific to that is who, that's all fine, but that's kind of hindsight because you've already built a freeway around the perimeter of the park on the south side. Whose direction specific was it that the conservation crew built this freeway that has destroyed the natural habitat of the existing trail system?
When we develop trails, we look at who is going to be the users. And based on that is how we decide how wide it's going to be. If it was, for example, just people walking through the woods, we go with like a smaller, narrow, more intimate trail. But in the case of Orange Gate, especially with the major trails there, and Tiffany can also speak to that, it's going to be pedestrians, horseback riders, and a lot more heavy use. And something we also found in some of our other parks is when you have really dense vegetation, you want to make sure you can see what's around the corner, what's going on behind you. So if you're going down the trail and you have a blind corner and we have someone come with a horse, you also need room to step off the trail to let them go by. So we design based on trail system standards, how can we do a trail that's going to accommodate these multiple uses? From that, we can also take a step back and look at, okay, here are our main trails that are going to be receiving all this heavy traffic that we now need to accommodate for, and a lot with pedestrian safety, horseback rider safety, people walking their dogs on leash, and getting the proper signage to that. Once we get that main system in place, and get that, it's kind of like the main trail system through, then you can look for some interesting more nature trails and other little amenities that you can build within that structure. But the big thing is getting what are our users and how do we create a nice, safe trail that can handle that level of traffic and use for it safely. I know it's kind of intimidating when you look at it like, my gosh, what are they doing here? But part of that is kind of transforming it for the use that Orange Gate is going to be receiving, and how can we best make sure we can accommodate all the users that are going to be occurring.
And Donna, I would also add that work that was done, because I participated in quite a bit of that, is the same standard that we would be doing in the national forest, in the national parks, where you have the room. We might have a narrow, say, 2-foot path in a place that's on a slope and there's no room to widen it. But in other areas, yeah, you would have that wider like that, along with the fact that you do have multiple users and you need to have space for them. There's also the issue of maintenance. When you make it wider like that, you don't have the people to be coming back on a regular basis to maintain that. And what will happen is over time, you'll get, the sides are built up a little bit. And so you've got to knock that berm off. So again, if you have it wider, you don't have to go back as often for maintenance. Also, when the master plan went before the county council, one of the questions was access by people, say, in motorized carts, because there's a portion of the north part that is going to have a paved trail. And there are sections that we worked on between, say, High Point and getting back over to Pipeline Road that my sister, who's in a motorized cart, she could still go out and access that and enjoy that space. If we didn't build to that standard, people who aren't ambulatory, very good ambulatory, wouldn't be able to enjoy it as well.
Thanks, Bob. And building on exactly what you said, and you identified it, we're using the U.S. Forest Service standards on the trail system. And we're also the goal is to build them to ABA standard, Architectural Barriers Act, which is really to allow as many people with different physical abilities to enjoy the trail. So you may see that we close something off because it's too steep, but instead we do a larger sweeping curve at a nice 10% or less grade, so more people can enjoy it and use it as well.
And I just want to add that when we did all of the public surveys for Orange Gate, when the process first started, one of the #1 concerns that we heard from people is that they feel unsafe in the park. So one of the really important pieces that comes with that trail design is including those safety standards that Jess was talking about, making sure that as you walk down the trail, you have a good view of who's coming at you. It's not just so that you can step off of the trail if there's a horse coming. It's also to make sure that there's not somebody waiting in the woods to grab you, which probably is less likely, but people do worry about that. Watching for dogs that might be coming at you off leash. We had lots of reports of issues with off leash dogs, but safety really rose to the top, just beyond kind of preserving Orange Gate as a really natural park. Safety was right up there. So that was one of the big considerations when Jess's team came in and built the trail system as well.
Okay.
Hi, so and just also I think with Don's concern, but from my understanding, the master plan included a reduction of the overall free-form trails that just kind of developed over time, so that some of that area can revert back to a natural state. And it makes sense environmentally and the impact it would have for trails for erosion control and other factors to make sure that the trails are there in the right places so they have less impact on the environment locally, and it helps build that whole area up. And kind of the trade-off is having some wider trails for the different reasons you guys were talking about, to make sure that the trails are usable by everybody. And there might be about, I think it looks like about 25% less trails than there currently are. But at least there'll be safer trails and more accessible trails.
And you'll find that as we do that, you're going to have, and I'm pointing down because that's where Larry is on my thing, on my board. When you have less of those user trails, that's where you're going to run into less of those illicit activities Larry's been finding in the woods. And Dawn, join us as a steward, and I will provide you trees. You let me know where you want to plant them, and I will get the material for you and help you do it.
Okay.
Could I say something really quick?
Oh, please. Yeah.
So it's not really safety in Orange Gate Park per se, but I did want to share that this last week I walk around our neighborhood a lot, and there was somebody who was strung out who started to go, I guess the funny thing is that I had my headphones on, and it was almost like he wasn't even there, but he came at me, I guess. The neighbor is the one who told me everything after the fact. He was heading toward me. He was shouting. He was aggressive toward me. And I was listening to music, and I was watching where I was walking, and I walked right by and I didn't notice a thing. But when I came back through in my car, they had called the police because he had also thrown a cell phone at a van, and the neighbor had seen me walking and seen him being aggressive toward me and called the police on him. So up until now, I've never felt unsafe in the neighborhood, but now I do. And so I could see why people might feel unsafe in a park, because that was a public road. And so I thought I'd share that little story.
Hey, Jen?
Yeah.
Where and when did this happen?
It happened Friday afternoon at 3 on the bridge on 48th Street, crossing the gully. In fact, when we drove back through, my daughter screeched because the police officers were looking over the bridge. We thought somebody had jumped, but he disappeared when they called the police and they were searching for him. But that's one of the reasons they called. Between him throwing his cell phone at a van and him being aggressive toward me, the neighbors saw it. It's funny. I never saw a thing. I never saw him.
Be careful.
Yeah. But I could see why people would feel unsafe in the park if that's how it can be on a public road in the middle of the day. So
I got a question in that regard to the parks folks. Do you have park rangers?
I'll
Good
let Andrea
question,
answer that one,
Dawn.
I'm hoping.
Good question. You know, we don't currently, but it's actually been quite a hot topic amongst our staff for the last couple of years. And, you know, I feel like our deputy director really was kind of championing that. And it's near and dear to his heart. And it's something that's near and dear to a lot of our staff's heart. And I imagine probably obviously not this next budget cycle because we are on a, you know, biennial budget cycle, but possibly the 24-25 budget cycle. I imagine we may have something in place by then. So outside of that, you know, outside of that, it's our park staff. And then if it's, you know, some of our park sites, if we really need some assistance, the county has a contract with the security service that will call from time to time to report to assist with activities taking place.
Okay, so unless it's really a 911 call, we're pretty much hung out on a limb.
You know, I wish that wasn't the case, but we deal with that in our parks that are, you know, heavily used.
You've got to,
Yeah.
There's just no other answer for it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a sad commentary on our time, but that's the reality of it. So
Yeah.
what I learned a long time ago is to be alert, to be aware is to
Mhm.
beware.
Yep.
And boy, like Jim, you got to be cognizant of your surroundings, whether you're in a grocery store, getting into your car, or walking in a park. We're living in a different age, and you got to watch your, you know what. So,
You know, and I think too that, you know, as I talked a little bit earlier about, you know, as you start seeing more and more activity, standing the park up, you know, you're going to also see more events taking place. So, you know, we'll have a lot of pitching for park opportunities, like Jess mentioned, tree planting, all sorts of things. So you know, which I think is great, right? So hopefully that brings a little bit more of a safe atmosphere for you all, for especially residents that are in the area, to feel safe to go into the park. So, you know, that's our hope. And I imagine we'll see a change in the next few years, really, as Jess and her crew are in there blazing the trails. And as we really start getting some of those amenities into the park. So I hope, Jen, that situation, you know, was you don't run into that again, you know, especially as we move forward with the development of the park.
Hey, Bob,
Yeah,
I want to ask staff a question.
yeah.
Okay, it's a little bit off topic. It has to do with Swan Creek Park.
Oh,
Okay.
Raise an issue about that.
But the county's only got about that many feet of Swan Creek, but okay, go ahead.
We've got almost 100 acres actually, but in any event, I'm trying to draw the county staff's attention to the 40 acres down at the bottom of Waller Road at Pioneer. You're aware of that property, aren't you? Okay. Are there any homeless encampments in there? I don't think so. But across the street on Pioneer Way, the city of Tacoma, it's not your jurisdiction, the city of Tacoma has acreage in there along with the Port of Tacoma. They have an environmental mitigation area. It's called the Clear Creek environmental mitigation area. Could you folks take the initiative to write a letter to the city of Tacoma, asking them to abate several of the encampments that are in there? And I will contact you later in the week by email to confirm that you'll do that for us. This organization, the Summit Waller Road Group, we wrote letters to the Port of Tacoma and the city of Tacoma. And as a result of that, the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad abated quite a large homeless encampment that was in there. It was actually a drug encampment from what they found afterwards. They abated it within the last several weeks, but there's still one on the city of Tacoma's property along Pioneer Way before you get to River Road. You may have seen it. And there's another one directly across the street or next to the tire shop right on Pioneer Way, directly across the street from your Swan Creek Park. So I'll get a hold of you later on that. And could you folks take the initiative to contact one of your other jurisdictions, the city of Tacoma, who's involved with Swan Creek Park?
I think I can assist with that, especially if it's in an open space or mitigation. I know both the Port of Tacoma and the city of the Port of Tacoma and the city of Tacoma open space managers.
What's your name? I talked to her a number of times.
I mean,
yeah,
the little clique of us keeping close contact. So if you send that to me, I can send it directly to them.
Well, the Port of Tacoma is taking care of their problem. There was some drug encampments in there. They're gone.
Okay.
And then the private railroad property, they had their railroad cops go in there and clean that out. But the city of Tacoma, for some whatever reason, they're a little lax on trying to keep the area clean as it's supposed to be. It's all part of the same environmental mitigation area. So the attention you'd want to focus would be on the city of Tacoma. And I'll contact you later about that.
Yes, I'll reach out to their open space manager.
Just a quick aside, what Dan's talking about, you probably don't know about the area, but across Pioneer from Swan Creek, there is 3 different jurisdictions that we work with beyond Pierce County that it's hard to coordinate cleanup jobs and to keep that all together cleaned up between those 3 different things. You have BNSF, you've got the city of Tacoma, and then you've got the port. And so all 3 of those have to work together to make sure that that's done. If one of them doesn't do it, then they just kind of shift around between the different jurisdictions, and they know how to play the game.
They play it with us too.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, and if I may ask a question of Jess, in regards to the stewardship agreement, it kind of sounds like the Adopt a Park agreement, only repackaged. Is that the case, or do you still have Adopt a Park agreements and now you're going with something different?
We're going with something different, and it's different from Adopt a Park because it's more tailored to the site, tailored to the work the stewards want to do. And yeah, I could say it's more tailored and more of a supportive partnership is kind of the goal. For example, the agreement and the plan that we will put together with you, you're going to see the same plan set up slightly differently with this different information that's going to go to Andrea and her staff that they're going to be working off of and using. So it's more looking more of a partnership and not just, oh, Adopt a Park, come over, we're trying to make it more of an engaging partnership, working with you on stewarding and caring for the site. So I don't know too much about the Adopt a Park program because I was never involved with that program.
I see. Well, I would like to point out that the Summit Waller Community Association is a civic organization, and we first started off as a land use group, building communities, neighborhood plans, and such, illegal businesses and so like. We've got our.
But we weren't involved in the illegal businesses.
No, we weren't involved in illegal businesses. We were trying to get rid of them. But that's why we resisted adopting Orange Gate Park, because we just didn't have the people that could do that. I mean, originally there was like 3 or 4 of us that really worked hard with the Department of Natural Resources and cleaning up Orange Gate and then applying for the conservation futures for the county to purchase it in the 90s. And now I'm the only one left and of that group. And so we really do not have a Summit Waller Community Association crew that's chomping at the bit to do a lot of projects in Orange Gate Park. If there's somebody younger than me, because I'm the oldest of any of you people here, I've only got just a few years left before, you know, maybe physically I would only be able to do a lot less than what I do now. But we just don't have that crew. I'm certainly for a stewardship agreement, but other than litter pickup and staging and walking a few of the trails, I don't know of anybody else. Bob and I have cleared a few of the smaller trees. If there's bigger trees that are falling over trails, then we call the Parks Department to have somebody come out and chainsaw that open. But that's probably about all we're going to do, unless there's somebody younger than me who wants to coordinate and recruit a crew ready to go and, let's say, attack English ivy growing up trees, which I've done that too. You know, that's our agreement our stewardship agreement, you'd probably get out of us for a while just picking up litter is basically what I'm suggesting.
But this might be an opportunity for recruitment and bringing more people into the organization as well. In particular, we tend to be kind of old. And so
we're senior citizens.
Yeah, Jen and Gabe are the outliers. So, maybe it's a way to, get some more families involved, or even what I'm anticipating is there are already people who go into the park and do things. If we can educate them on what the Parks Department's trying to do, then when they go in, when I walk through the park, I always take a pair of snips with me. I do that when I backpack. And so, if people do that and just do a little maintenance while they're walking the park, as long as they understand what the expectation is and they're doing something positive as opposed to undoing what the park's trying to do. That's partly my impression of the stewardship agreement is people who want to participate, here's how you can participate appropriately.
So is the steward program an official thing where people sign up for it as stewards, almost like a volunteer ranger type of thing?
You can do it as an individual or you can do it as an organization. And because you are, know the park, so involved with us and with the history, we'd like to do it as as a group.
But it's a formal relationship, not just everybody show up and do what they're going to do. Okay.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Do you happen to have, say, some boilerplate or some sort of example of what you've done elsewhere, or say like a blank sort of fill in so we had an idea of just what this would look like?
Well, as I said, it got delayed because of, thank you, COVID. It was supposed to have been launched a couple years ago, early 2020. So this will be one of the first ones. This will be one of the grand experiments. Fun one, you guys will help work out the kinks. But we do have all the formal, kind of like the document. Here's the expectations. Don't do the don'ts, like please don't go use herbicides in the parks. Don't go chopping down trees in the parks. It has all that information in as well.
Okay.
And then then I work with you and we create, here's the formal plan with the maps and the work to do. And that's kind of the agreement on what work we'll be partnering in.
Okay.
So would the agreement paperwork be sent to our president then, Bob? And then we go from there, or what? How would that work?
I would say, yeah, that would definitely be, if Bob is your main point of contact, then yeah, we would send that on to Bob. Y'all have, take a look at it, put some questions together. If we want to be invited back and do this here, or we have a little bit more smaller meeting with just you, Bob, or you and someone else to kind of talk through that, whatever works best for the group.
Okay.
And then,
Perfect.
maybe this would be a good piece, assuming that things keep improving and we can actually have an in-person community association meeting in May. This might be a good time to introduce it to the greater community. Okay. Anything else that the three of you would like to share?
I would be happy to share an update about the master plan and just a timeline for some more of the natural lands work that's going to be happening in the park, and Jess can kind of help me with this.
Okay.
I have a map. Am I able to share my screen, or is that turned off?
I just enabled it. Go ahead.
Let's see. I don't see the option. Oh, there it is. Got it. Might have just been my computer being slow. All right, can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
So this is Orange Gate overall. I'm gonna zoom in. Let's see. This is the area that was done in 2021 with this big loop trail that you all were referring to. There was some more work done down here, correct, Jess, by the WTA team that will continue in 21 and 22.
Yeah.
In 2023, we are expecting the pipeline trailhead to be built here where the L is in this shaded area. And then the orange line is the pipeline trail. So Jess's team will come in and do trail connections to the trailhead. And then in 2024, we are anticipating this area to be built. So that'll include the parking, dog park, play area, kind of event lawn area with picnic shelters. And then they'll come in and do some more trail building around the North 40, following that construction project. So that'll probably actually happen late 24, early 25. They like to come in following construction so they can make logical connections to the improvements and not have the improvements come in and wipe out all the hard work that the volunteer crews do. So all of that is moving forward. And then Jess, I think you've got some forestry work coming up out there too that I don't know the timeline on. Do you want to share more about that?
Yes, so we are really concerned about the condition of the North 40. That is quite overgrown. So we are currently working with foresters and a selective logging, kind of a thinning in there to thin it out, pull a lot of the trees out of there. And then we're also going to backfill with the crews to do some brush and habitat management. So then as we then go into the forward and the rest of the plan, it's fuel reduction. That's kind of a big thing we're looking at in Orange Gate. And the main concept is we want healthy forests, not something that we're going to be really, we want healthy forests with good spacing in our trees, and make sure that during the summers you can feel confident, especially with the neighbors with that forest. And so the North 40 is going to be a target for that work.
I've got a question on that you're there. Phase A of the dog park is included in the first part of the work plan. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there going to be a play area prepared in that area?
A play area for dogs?
Yes.
I believe so. So, and Dawn, I think you're the person I've talked to about this before. I can't remember for sure. We've got lots of people that are excited about this dog park.
Yes,
we
yes, we have talked many times, and Pearl is the instigator. She wants a play area, and she's got her opinion on what it should be.
So that is going to go into detailed design probably starting next year. And at that point, what they do is they really dig into what needs to happen there. So they'll look at what's there, what needs to be removed. I think that, let me share again. Let's see, there we go. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
these lighter green areas, I believe, are areas that have blackberry right now. So the consultant that prepared this were proposing removing some of that blackberry to create an open area, and they'd include some little brown areas like digging pits and things like that dogs like. I don't know that this will be the final layout. Jess has actually told me that some of the blackberries in this area are native blackberries, so we may not want to remove them, depending on exactly which ones these are. But in any case, when we get into that detailed design, we'll look at the different aspects that should be included in the dog park. I think you know the Meridian Habitat Park out there. That's got sort of an open play area at the front, and then a more forested area in the back. The Fort Steilacoom Dog Park's got big open areas and then sort of forested trail areas. So I think the vision here is to have a good mix so that there's space to throw a ball, and then there's space to kind of get away from everybody and walk trails as well with your dog off leash in kind of a contained area that's still large enough that you feel like you can get a good walk in.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yes and no. Am I still on? Because my screen's going sideways.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I would like to be an outsider that is privy to helping with that final design. What I'm afraid of is that if there's not if you don't have an area for frisbee and fly ball with the dogs that they can run and interact, I probably won't go there because my dog likes to explore and she'll stay with me. But if she gets on one of those trails running through that, it's just a massive pile of brush, the whole 40. And what you're showing is the green areas. It's 6 feet deep in grass that you can't walk through. Now, I don't know how you propose to thin this out without going in there with a bulldozer and just doing it. And if a dog doesn't have a place to socialize and run with another dog, I'm not interested, because if she goes in one of those trails after a critter and she goes off trail into brush, and that is a brush park, I can't find her because she won't respond. I can't get her to bark. So the other thing is that you have the people that are running their dogs off leash now in the park, and if they don't have room for dogs actually to run and play, there is no incentive to go into that designated off leash area when they got the pipeline trail that's 100 feet wide and a quarter mile long to let the dogs play.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at, and that's what Pearl's looking at. So you're going to make the decision, but if you don't have input from the outside, I don't know what we're going to get.
Okay, I hear you. We are going to. So what happens in our process is that I run the master plan, and then once the master plan is adopted, it gets turned over to one of our project managers, and they run the design and engineering and the construction contracts. So right now, we do not know who will be the project manager. That's why we haven't started design and engineering yet. We're kind of waiting on this budget to be passed to figure out what's going on. Once we figure out who this is going to be assigned to, I will share your contact information with them and make sure that they know that you would be a great resource in terms of the dog park design to run things by.
Okay. Oh, on Habitat Park, yes, we go up there quite often too. It's nice that those blackberries were finally removed. You've opened up the occupancy a considerable amount, but yet since that park was built a week after, there's been a non-functioning gate, and I have addressed this time and time again as to why does the neighborhood have to supply bungee cords to hold the gates closed?
Andrea, do you have any knowledge of that? I know you're not the region manager out there. You used to work in that area, but or Jess, I don't know anything about that.
I know exactly the gate he's talking about, and yeah, we can mention it to Nicholas to give him a heads up. But I'm not sure what the replacement on that one. There was a lot of repairs to that dog park after it was installed, and I'm not sure what the knob, because it's this really awkward knob thing that broke very quickly.
We can certainly forward that on to the region manager out there, Don. I don't know.
Yeah,
if you've
isn't that
spoken to-
Becky Little?
Becky's the parks specialist out there. The region manager is the person that is
Yeah.
above Becky that manages that whole
Yeah, I
area.
sent her an email, but apparently no action has been taken, so. Okay, I got another question, and sorry for that. When will Orange Gate Park be officially dedicated as a park? Because your website is really confusing depending on what page you go to. In certain areas, it's listed as a park. You go to another place and says, well, it's a park, but it's really not a park. And it gets real confused.
You want me to take that one? I can give you a little bit of an answer, not a full answer, but we generally consider our parks official parks once they are developed. Part of the reasoning behind that has to do with risk management. Orange Gate's an interesting one because we have signs out there, and that so it looks a lot different. We have another example of a park like this is Plateau Park out on the Bonnie Lake Plateau near Tahale. And that park, I mean, there's no signs out there, there's no access, there's no indication that it's a park. So Orange Gate is a little different. I think the signs and all of that went up at the urging of the community that's been using that park. But we still consider it an undeveloped park. Once the pipeline trail and trailhead go in, and the new amenities in the North 40 go in, it will absolutely be considered a developed park. Jess and Andrea, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, that was awesome. Thanks, Tiffany.
Yeah, when you brought up Tahale, does Pierce County Parks have any financial obligations to Discovery Park up there?
Sorry, no.
Okay, because they're doing a 1.9 million redevelopment of that park.
No, we have a partnership that we're working on with them right now, mountain bike park, but that's different than the Discovery Park.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
Are we still looking at next summer to working with Tacoma Power to get the Scotch broom chopped down underneath the power lines south of 84th?
Yes, we were kind of, That got pushed back a little bit because we're in negotiations with them on some of the work in the easements. And now that's been kind of clarified. We're going to move on with invasive management in there. Yeah, I agree. That's a nice one. When we talk about safety, no one wants to walk through thing with Scotch broom up to here. That does not benefit anyone.
Yeah, I expressed that concern quite a while ago, and it's become quite the toilet area. And yeah, it's a little, you got to be real careful when you're going through there to pick out garbage in some of the trails that
I'm
offshoot
also
from the main
communication
trailhead.
here, Pat.
Also, are we still looking at collecting the remnants of the Orange Gate and storing them somewhere, refurbishing them, and then including them in somewhere in the park? Okay, that's good to know. And is Orange Gate Park going to stick, or is it going to be renamed something else?
As far as I know, we did not get any, we didn't receive any comments at all about changing the name. That's certainly
Okay.
something that could still be proposed. As far as the actual Orange Gate, there's a discussion in the master plan of somehow featuring the Orange Gate. I have no idea what that's going to look like. I know there have been some discussions so far from the Pipeline Trail design team on potentially designing some of the bridges to include some orange features as it goes through the park, but none of those decisions are final yet. So it'll all depend on cost and all of that, but that may be a fun addition in the park as well.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that all gates anywhere in the park be orange.
I like it.
And certainly a name that isn't going to cause you problems down the road. So, yeah, we won't find out later that the Orange Gate murdered somebody or did some other heinous thing. So, okay, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us? Any other?
Anything else? I would just love to say thank you so much to all of you for all of your help during the master planning process and all of the work you've done for years and years and years predating this process, taking care of that park and making it just an amazing amenity for the community. I live not too far away and I use Orange Gate Park too. So I really appreciate all of you.
Well, thank you.
Ditto that as well. And thank you for allowing us to take over your meeting here for a bit. I just appreciate being able to have some open communication back and forth and knowing that we may not be able to give you the answer tonight, but we'll definitely find out the correct information and get it to you if that's the case. So, but thank you for willing to listen to us for a bit, and for my coworkers, Jess and Tiffany, for being here to help assist with, having this conversation with you all.
Quick question.
Yep.
Real quick question, Bob, about the impact fees that's coming up before the Pierce County Council. Are you guys suggesting an adjustment upward of those park impact fees?
Yes. So the county council, if you're interested in watching the hearing, they're holding a special hearing on it Thursday morning, and it goes from 9:30 to 11:30. The Parks Department did a huge increase to impact fees back in 2016. And this year is the first year that the code requires us to make an adjustment to those impact fees. So we used the same calculation that we used originally in order to look at the value of our park system, the projected population, and adjust that fee. So we're proposing an increase, and I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what it is. I think it's in the range of about $500 in addition per dwelling unit to what it is right now.
Okay, all right.
And that impact fee, just for those of you who aren't familiar with it, that's a fee that's collected one time with the issuance of a new building permit for any residential dwelling unit.
any talk about the Pierce County Parks and Recreation. There you have the Pierce County Parks Advisory Board. Are you guys looking at proposing to have the Parks Department be its own taxing district in the near future?
Not that I know of. There are always conversations about whether communities want to create their own parks district, similar to like the Key Peninsula Park District, the Penn Met Parks District, Metro Parks. As far as Pierce County, we will remain sort of a county department, but let's say that South Hill incorporated someday and wanted to create their own park district, or they didn't incorporate, but they still wanted to have their own park district in that area. They would set up that district separately from the Pierce County Parks Department. And then there would be negotiations in terms of whether they took over the parks in that area.
Yeah, right now, I think it's only Tacoma has its own parks taxing district. I know Sumner does not, and Bonnie Lake does not. I don't think Fife has its own taxing parks district. But about 10 years ago, your Pierce County Parks Advisory Commission discussed that, but it was during that economic downturn, and so they were going to postpone that. They even had it all written out as to what they would charge. So that's why I brought it up.
As far as I know, there's been no discussions in the department of that. I think the impact fee passing in 2016 really sort of changed the tide for the Parks Department. For now, we actually have the capital funding to start building capacity and maintaining our park system. So there's, my guess, I wasn't part of those conversations, but my guess is there's less pressure now to look for additional revenue sources like park districts, because we have that revenue coming in.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Okay, well, I think that's probably all. So again, thank you for coming and speaking with us about about Orange Gate and some other parks issues. And I guess we can let you go for the evening. You can get back to your families.
All right. Thank you for
Thank
having us.
you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, next item on the agenda, real quick, got the proposed ordinance sent in to Marty Campbell, who isn't, well, last week we were fortunate in that his meeting didn't go long. Tonight or actually I should say today, the county council was in the process of interviewing the 3 candidates to fill Jeannie Darnell's seat as senator for the 27th legislative district. And I'm not sure if this included the people who showed up at the meeting or just the people who wanted to comment on over Zoom, but it was reported that they had over 100, at one point, over 100 people waiting to speak or who wanted to speak. And they were only even limiting it to 2 minutes per person. So yeah, I'm sure Marty is quite busy tonight. Dan wanted to be on here about the Canyon Rim action. It sounded like you already talked about the Pioneer Way encampment.
Yeah, real quick. I sent out to each of you a copy of the petitioner's brief. We're the petitioner along with a couple landowners. The brief speaks for itself. Read the brief. It's pretty easy to understand. You know, we should win the case. The judge that was going to hear it, I was very optimistic about this particular judge. He retired today. So the trial's been put off until early next year, January something. The new judge, don't know him, can't tell you. I don't know what's going to happen. If it's based upon the law, we win. If it's political, we lose. That's all I'm going to say. I'm done with that. Read the brief. It speaks for itself. As far as Pioneer Way, I've already spoke to that issue. I will be contacting these park people to have them maybe do a little advocacy with the city of Tacoma, their co-partner in Swan Creek, to get those remnants of those drug encampments cleaned up. Okay. That's number two. On a side issue, I have previously discussed this issue about writing a letter to the Puyallup Indian tribe. I put it off because I wanted to wait till the right time. And on October 26th, the Puyallup tribe came before the Pierce County Council. Marty Campbell, they had a very pleasant exchangement of comments. You can go to the council meeting October 26th and see it for yourself. You have Puyallup tribal members there speaking in their own native tongue. They were going back and forth, making comments. Marty Campbell, I think, is a pretty good person to have maybe contact the tribe in our behalf. And so I'm in the process. I'm going to prepare a letter, a very proper letter. You will see it, approve or refuse it before it's ever sent out sometime next year. But I think we need to write another letter to the tribe. In fact, the board suggested that we do that. I just haven't done it. But I think now's the time. Today, or on the 26th, the Pierce County Council proclaimed November the Indigenous People Month in Pierce County. So the Puyallup tribe and the Pierce County Council are really kind of in lockstep as to what their goals are. And I think maybe now is the time to maybe very politely and gingerly present our humble concerns. So that will be coming in your direction. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. And last item, and by the way, welcome, Angela. The issue of the impact fees came up earlier. It's going to go before the county council, the full council, on their November 16 meeting for a final adoption. And one of the nice things about having meetings available through Zoom is you don't have to take the time to drive downtown and find a place to park and pay for parking and then sit through the whole meeting to say your piece. You can have it on Zoom, and when the issue pops up, you just go and raise your hand and they recognize you in order, and it's real easy. So I'll definitely be there speaking in favor of it. I guess formally I should ask, do I have the support of this body in order to speak on its behalf, saying that we agree with the increase in the fees? Yeah, Larry. Okay.
Oh, I agree with you. It's
Okay.
time for them to, yes, I would say yes.
I think part of the issue is that state law, and I believe this was maybe through an initiative, limits how much fees, local taxes can be raised each year. And so if you don't keep up with it, you don't have the opportunity in later years to catch up. You're just limited each year to what you can do. So it's kind of important to do this.
In answer to your question, I don't oppose you going to do that. What's the rest of the board feel? Bob's asking for permission.
I guess my question is, I'm unfamiliar with what the issue is. Is this additional park impact fee like they did a few years ago?
Yes, they'd just be raising the fee like, shoot, I can't remember what the actual percentage is, but there's a yearly amount. As I understand, there's a yearly amount that local taxing districts can increase their fees from year to year. And so that's what they, as I understand, that's what they want to do with this, is to increase that fee for new construction.
Hmm.
Well, that covers new construction, and then potentially the topic Donna brought up with maybe rangers and support for the parks and stuff like that,
Mhm.
right? That we're talking about.
Yes.
Well, we paid it when we got our permit here 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
It serves its purpose. I'm
Yeah.
not opposed to it. It's a one-time shot, so
Okay. Well, then I guess I will speak on behalf of the organization. Anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn?
What did Gabe?
Well,
what did Gage?
we need to revisit the proposed ordinance, the stuff about 84th, 96, 104th.
Yes,
88th,
I've got that
76th.
sent into Marty.
Oh, okay, all right. I would like to point out just one thing about that. I talked with Don Brunson today.
Mhm.
There was an accident yesterday at 96th and Vickery at 3 o'clock in the afternoon approximately. A man in a stolen pickup truck collided with a woman who was transporting a couple of children from point A to point B. It appeared that no one was seriously injured, although it did cause the woman's car to flip over on its side, and the sheriff's deputy arrested the pickup truck driver, who tried to get some friends of his to tow his vehicle away
His stolen vehicle?
before the police could arrive, because he was in a stolen pickup and caused the accident. Don and I had suggested that, or Don wants to suggest that the next time we talk with either Chelsea Talbert or Marty Campbell, that if you notice, if you go along 99th Street, west of Portland Avenue, they have these solar powered red flashing lights to the traffic lanes that have to stop, where one direction of traffic does not have to stop. It would be like at 96th and Vickery, where there would be the solar powered flashing red lights would be on top of the stop signs facing north and south. That should be something that we should also try and get that across to Marty Campbell's office.
Yeah,
promoting
I'm
that.
all for safety as long as it doesn't become an obnoxious red flashing light that kind of changes the look of feel of the area. I mean, that's really, I'm just worried about that type of thing. You get enough flashing lights in the area, it really does make the area kind of look bad.
Yeah. I think when I talk to Don, I will ask him to canvass the people at that intersection and see if they would be in favor of something like that, because it would be going night and day.
Yeah,
Well,
it would
I kinda
definitely
wonder-
impact the local neighbors right around that intersection for sure.
I wonder if there's a way to put in some sort of a sensor so that it only would go off if a car is approaching,
Oh, that's an idea too.
if that's feasible.
That's a good idea. Well, and another thing Bob and I discussed, maybe under new business, I did talk with Bunny up at the Mid-County Community Center about how open are they right now? Are they closed? Are they when would they be reevaluating when they would open up to outside groups like ours to meet there? Currently, they are closed to outside groups except for one group, a church group that meets there on Saturdays. They've had a contract with that church group for some time now. They also have a disinfectant agreement with that group. So that group has to disinfect all touch surfaces before they leave, besides putting away all the furniture and all that. They are going to reevaluate whether they would allow, let's say, the Summit Waller Community Association's Board of Directors to meet there. They're going to reevaluate things in January, hoping to reopen the community center to more activities, possibly in February. So Bunny kind of indicated that the first possibility for, let's say, the Summit Waller Community Association to possibly have a board meeting, an in-person board meeting at the Mid-County Community Center would be in March of next year. And obviously hoping that we could have our general membership and community meeting there in May. So I guess after they reevaluate things in January, I'll get back in touch with Bunny and see what conclusions they came up with at that time.
On Larry's point, if I may, I certainly agree that we need to have our annual meetings at the center up there. But these Zoom meetings, I find them really appealing. I like my cushy chair. I'm just thinking that what's wrong with Zoom meetings going forward? It's better than getting out and going out on the road in the cold weather and, it's secure, it's safer. Certainly we can have our annual meetings there, but what is wrong with a Zoom meeting if we make it open to the public and we're recording it? I think it would even draw in more people to participate than having them have to travel far to attend one of our meetings. I like these Zoom meetings.
I like them too. You guys would not have, I would not have found you guys if we were on Zoom still. As technical as I am, I showed up to the community center because I wanted to check it out. And we actually had more visitors in person than we are having on Zoom.
Well, frankly, it's a great Zoom meeting because of you, Gabe. You are, you make it happen. If it was up to me, we'd be up there at the center talking to each other probably.
I think we've all noticed how relaxed you look, Dan.
Hey, I got a nice cushy chair here. I want to stay here.
I didn't get to meet Dan until Zoom. So, your car has a nice comfy seat too, right?
I came to your house once.
It's only once a month, but yeah, I mean, in person would allow other people who want to check it out. Not everybody's as technical, be able to do so, infrastructure, the technology to do so, and just where do they find the information? A lot of people don't know, but if you say, hey, we meet at the community center, they can show up when they want and not have to seek out more information. I do like Zoom. I do. We just, my networking group for business, we meet every Tuesdays. We just started back to in-person this week, actually, earlier today, as a matter of fact. We were doing Zoom before that as well. And it's turned out we can get more people to come in. We can refer more business. We can talk about more things because things change a little bit differently in a personal setting when you can pick up on body language, topics, when people can step aside in individual conversations and before the meeting or maybe after. It kind of spurs on additional thought and content that you don't get necessarily in a Zoom meeting.
True. What else we
I
got?
would also like to point out that the monthly meeting of the Waller Road Neighborhood Watch meeting has been canceled again this month as well. And they would also be looking forward, in talking with Don Brunson, that they would be looking forward to having in-person Waller Road Neighborhood Watch meetings sometime in the future as well.
I think Angela's got something.
I do. I have my hand up. I think part of the reason we've had fewer attendees in these meetings is I know I haven't been making any announcements on Facebook about when the meetings are like I was before. If I knew what was, I'd do like this month, here's these meetings that are happening or events that are happening. And I haven't been consistent at that at all, because I didn't really want us to, I don't want to share the Zoom link on Facebook to 1,500 people necessarily.
Thanks for that.
So but there have been some people that have said I would like to attend, and we send them the link, and there's been 1 or 2 people over the last year that have, plugged in here and there. If we want to continue to do Zoom meetings, I can, Gabe and I can make more of an effort at making sure that information gets out there, at least when the meeting is, and then what the kind of the topics are. So if someone does want to join, we can always send them a private, one-on-one invitation like we've done before.
And in addition to what Angela's saying is, if we can get the agenda earlier with who's going to speak, like if they knew that we're going to be talking about Orange Gate Park and what's going on, we might have had more people. But we only know a day before. There's no time for people to make plans for the evening to join a Zoom meeting, let alone an in-person meeting.
Yeah, and sometimes we kind of have a general feel for what's coming up on the next agenda, and I've tried to put those on there. But I think in September, I put one, posted some information about our meeting, and then there were some, we had the litter pickup, and then we also had a couple, Pierce County Pals was holding some brown bag lunch sessions on some development regulation changes. I think I put those up, which prompted some questions from the community. I think that's how we ended up getting Tiffany to attend about the lighted intersections. So we can start doing that again if we want to keep Zoom meetings. I mean, I don't live that far. I could literally walk to the center, so it's no biggie for me. So
Yeah, I'm fine either way. I just find that in person seems to spur on more conversations. That's all. I mean, that's the only reason I want to go back to in person. Otherwise, yeah, I'm happy sitting here with, God knows what I have waist down, and have my bar next to me I can grab a drink from.
Okay, well, at least for the time being, it's moot, but something to consider, how we want to balance that out going forward. And I apologize for the lateness of the agenda this month. My brain's been in a million other places. But finally, hey, the election's tonight. I'm not dealing with any of that stuff anymore, except for picking up signs, which fortunately this year are in a limited space instead of all over. So I'll work on getting it out much sooner this coming month. So with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
So move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
See you all next month.
Thanks for your work, Bob.
Right.
Thanks, everyone. And
Yeah,
I'm
thank you, Bob.
stopping the
Thanks.
recording.